We'll give it a few seconds while everybody trickles in. Welcome, welcome. Thank you for being here and taking your time out of your day for us. We appreciate it. And as you can see, you're here for Sage Demo Day. So we have a great lineup of ISVs for you. And we are recording this, and we will be sending out an email with the recording to you all afterwards in case you have to jump off or missed one or just want to see one again or share with your team. So you'll be hearing from these 4 ISVs over the next hour. They each get roughly 15 minutes to share their information and a brief demo, basically a high-level sneak peek for you, just to show you the key functionalities that you might be interested in. And of course, you can reach out to them to get a more in-depth demo. If you do have any questions, you can feel free to put them in the Q&A or chat, and we will get to them at the end if we have time. If we don't have time to get through all of the questions, we certainly will have those ISVs reach out to you with the questions that you have. So don't worry about that. All right. So here is our wonderful lineup of speakers for you today. Very excited to have them all on here to chat with you and share their awesome solutions for Sage. So thank you all for being here and joining us today for Sage Demo Day. So I truly appreciate it, as we have all of these wonderful people who've been with me for the past few demo days. So this is our last one of 2023, so pretty exciting. And then here is your lineup of those that are presenting today. So you can see, so we have Dynamic Budgets, Sage, which is Lockstep, which is part of the Sage network, REPAY, and Yooz. So with that, I am going to stop sharing my screen and let Zubin from Dynamic Budgets take it away.
All right. Thank you, Amy.
You're welcome.
I will actually, sorry. I need to connect the second machine. Sorry about that. I thought we were connected. You're going to see a second Zubin join here in a second.
Okay. We hope, right?
Connecting right now. The one without the video. All right. Sharing screen.
Almost. It's almost there. There we go. Now it's your Zoom screen. All right, so there's your slides.
Okay, everyone.
Perfect.
Okay, thank you very much and welcome to Sage Demo Day. Dynamic Budgets, if you've heard our name, we have been around the industry for about 12 years, 12, 13 years in the GP space, and a lot of our customers are now headed over to Sage. We are available on additional platforms if there's partners on the line, BC, Acumatica, Intacct, and we are now just starting to play with NetSuite. We'll have that up and running by end of week. My background, I am the founder of the company. About 13 years ago, I was in the shoes of one of our customers. I was assistant controller and financial systems manager for a public traded company out in Hawaii. Had the fun, dubious pleasure of generating 600 Excel file budget templates, emailing those out to the managers, and then waiting for my inbox to blow up. So I was highly motivated to try to find any solution that would get me out of the middle. And couldn't find something that was easy to use, that was affordable, and that didn't take forever and really pain and kind of suffering to try to get set up and out the door. So we built a product for non-technical, non-financial users, end users who are incredibly gifted at breaking Excel. We get a lot of people who say, you just don't understand their users. Some of them are Mac users, some of them are academics. Like, unfortunately, we do, because that's who we built the product for. So we have customers in all sorts of shapes and sizes, ranging from small nonprofits, maybe just 10 departments, maybe about 10 million in revenue. But we really excel with larger organizations. If you've got hundreds of departments, largest customer's got 28,000 cost centers. Largest customer's got over $1 billion in revenue. The more departments you have, the more Excel files you are probably juggling internally, and you just want to basically vaporize that entire process of creating templates, sending them out, collecting them back, consolidating, importing, then run your reports, and then find out that the budget numbers don't even make sense, and you have to go hunt down the manager. That whole back and forth process goes out the window with our application because everything is centrally located in one database. What we really are trying to do is push the process out to the hands of the managers, get them to touch the product directly, input the numbers, and take ownership of the financials. What we're trying to do is not just work with an annual budget request, I need $100,000 for training. We're trying to get them to tell us what they're going to spend in which month and for what purpose. If you can get monthly line item details for each one of your accounts, then you can actually run a meaningful monthly budget to actual variance report. I was over for the month because of for $10,000 because we had an unplanned expenditure, or it was an earlier than anticipated timing of the expense or whatnot. Well, next question is, are you going to be able to recover by year end? Yes or no? Next year, should you do something differently? Ideally, we have them not just use this as a budgeting tool once a year, but use this as a monthly variance reporting tool. They can take their notes inside the application, and then those notes are available to them the next time they go into a reforecasting round, next year's budget, or if that manager leaves the organization and you didn't have any time to cross-train a replacement, now you have institutional knowledge. Those notes are inside the system, and the next time the new manager comes to inherit this department, they have that information at their fingertips. So I'll get into that in a little bit in the demo. So ideally, we want them to start with budgeting, analyze the variances throughout the year, go through a reforecasting process, and then go back into their next budget. Now, if you don't do reforecasting at your organization, that's fine. You can sort of go from budgeting to analyzing variances back into your next year's budget. This is a little brief glimpse of what the application looks like. A lot of our customers will build a starting point that smells like a financial report, multiple columns, but then they'll typically drill down into the account number over here, and I'll show that to you in the application. You can structure this to make it smell like a variance report. One of the traditional problems we have in budgeting is that you are sort of working in isolation. You get them to propose their numbers. They may or may not have a comparison in their budget templates. You get this, you roll it up, you say, yuck, you have to go hunt down the manager, but we can actually ask them to start explaining their variances right here on the fly when you build structured data entry screens that smell like variance reports. Big difference between our product and the competition is speed of implementation. Most of our customers are live after about 5 to 10 hours of training. Day one, we're setting up the look and feel of the product to smell like your financial reports, adding in the reporting labels, the account categories, the department hierarchy, things like that. Day two, we're going to set up payroll, maybe get into user security. Day three, we're going to ask you, do you have allocations, custom worksheets? Day four, we're usually doubling back and preparing some training videos and tutorials for your end users. It's really that easy with our product. I want to take a brief kind of sidetrack here for the partners and for the people that are a little bit more technical. We have built out a lot of functionality around dimensions. So if you're coming from a system like GP into Sage Intacct, you're going from a multi-segment GL structure to an account number and then dimensions. Now, dimensions can be kind of the wild, wild west if you're not careful. What we've built is the ability to create combinations of dimensions. So in Sage, you've got something called a dimension restriction. This department should only be used with that project. That project should only be used with that restriction. Unrestricted, temporarily restricted, that certain fund that you might have. We have the ability to respect those relationships and build out the accounts and the dimension combinations with those rules in place. The next thing that people had asked is that if you can respect those dimension code combos, can we take it a step further? Sage doesn't allow us to restrict who has access to which code. So at the user level, do you want user X to have access to project number 100 or only 200? Or maybe it's just 110. Should they have access to all the codes? So we built in a screen that allows you to subscribe a user to a particular dimension code, basically grant them user access to one of the dimension codes inside the dimension dropdown. They can have access to one or multiple of those codes, or they can be granted the all access pass to basically see all of the codes in that screen. Or we also came up with the concept that they can subscribe to a group of codes. So you can basically do a subscription to everything that smells like the 100 series codes, or the 200 series codes, or the G&A overhead codes, or the education codes and things like that. So more than happy to get into those details with you offline. But what we find is that it's sort of a big cultural difference when you're jumping from a sort of a segmented GP like GL structure to Sage, or even if you're just a native Sage customer, that we can respect those rules and place those, because we don't want people just picking any combination of location and department and project and kind of throw those on the fly. So hopefully that makes sense. Jump into a quick tour of the product, and then we'll taper off here. This is our typical data entry screen that I showed you in that PowerPoint presentation. So you might have something that smells like a financial report, and then the user is going to drill down into the account. When they drill down into the account, they're going to have the ability to input their line item details in the top half of the screen. And then the bottom half of the screen, they're going to have the ability to input their, or actually review their historical spend for that account. And my laptop has decided to go sideways here. So they could come in here and itemize the types of expenses that they want to spend on next year. So if this is my training, I might have CPR, leadership, offsite retreat, and they can tell how much in each month for what purpose. If they need a calculator, 500 times 2, it will evaluate the math for them, but it does not retain a formula. We're not trying to encourage the use of math because we don't trust that your users know how to do math, unfortunately. If I wanted to grab a range of cells and copy and paste, it just feels like Excel. You can do Control-C, Control-V, or you can right-click, copy and paste. You can copy and paste with or without the headers, paste this out to Excel, or you can hit the Excel export button over here and export the entire sheet out to Excel. In the bottom half of the screen, we have our data entry, or sort of our historical spend. If you wanted to know why you spent $1,500 last January, you could actually click on that, get a pop-up window that drills down straight to the transactions. And I don't have it enabled in the system, but we can actually click on the record URL link over here and drill right back into the Sage transaction. If that end user had a Sage login, they could then jump straight from our system back into the transaction in Sage Intacct. We have a fair amount of reporting capabilities in here. I could have this as unstructured. I could right click and drill down to my month and year-to-date transactions. But I can also apply some formatting and see what this looks like from a company totals perspective. I might want to look at this from my department perspective, my accounting department, and then my different expense categories and drill down into my accounts. Or I might have wanted to look at this from a divisional and then department level, maybe my regions and things like that. We have a very deep payroll module. Payroll expense definitions. We have an hourly labor, a salary oriented screen. We've got lots and lots of different types of calculations for your expenses, allocations, custom worksheets, and the ability to duplicate your budgets, create forecasts, and things like that. So I can go into a lot more details. I'm kind of like the Energizer Bunny, ding, 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 keep on going. But I want to give my colleagues a chance to share their screens and their presentations. So hopefully gave you a brief introduction to our product, let you know that we can handle a lot of the complexity around dimensions and probably give you more control over what you have in Intacct currently, and get this up and running as quickly as possible for you. We've got customers that have been able to take their products live in as little as a couple of weeks turnaround time. So if you've got a January, February go live, certainly reasonable in our minds. So we offer a free 30-day trial. Thanks very much for your time, and I'll pass this back to Amy.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Zubin. And just if you joined a few minutes late, we will be recording this and sending it out to everyone in case you need to view anything that you've missed or have to jump off, as well as share with your team. So next up, we have Whitney. Are you ready, Whitney?
Thanks so much, Amy. Yep, let me go ahead and share my screen. And can you see my whole screen?
Not yet. Still seeing Zubin's for some reason.
Screen share is loading.
Here, I'll stop, sorry.
Okay, now I see your screen.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you, everyone. My name is Whitney Gilstrap, and I work on the performance marketing team at Sage. And I'm here today to speak to you about Sage AR Automation, which was formerly Lockstep, and their Lockstep receivables solution. Just in case you weren't aware, Lockstep was acquired by Sage just over a year ago in last October. We had an announcement at Sage Transform, if you were there. And just, we also integrate with all of Sage's ERP portfolio. So just keep note of that. So that includes Intacct 100, 300, and X3. So here is our agenda for today. It's short and sweet. I did have an AR automation demo video that I was going to be playing, but unfortunately we're having some issues with that. So what I will do, Amy's going to include a link in the chat for everyone that you can just go ahead and watch that at your own convenience. Also, if you wanted a personalized demo, we can definitely get that coordinated for you. But what I will do is just speak to a high level of what the solution does, in place of that demo, as well as dig into a little bit of the features, the main features that we like to highlight in that demo as well. All right, so first up, the thing I wanted to touch on was just the matter of time. And the thing to really embrace here is that when it comes to the day-to-day actions that any department might take, or accounts receivable department might take, is that everything related to collections distills down into something having to do with time. Because time's money, you're trying to close on that money and collect on that money. That time equates directly into the cost center, which is accounts receivable. There's time to get the invoices to the right contact. Sometimes you have to find who that right contact is. Time the staff actually spends on any one individual invoice. Essentially, that entire quote to cash process, which is fueling your bank balance. And all of these listed out here have to do with time. And that's kind of what I was getting at. When it comes to the measures that you're having, within your business, most of those are typically also related or should be in some way to time as well. So how do we reduce the manual time spent on any one invoice? What I mean by manually processing is that you have a lot of human effort, that an additional delay getting the invoice out. And that's just by the nature of the process, right? You have to get it, you have to find the contact, you have to form the email, then you have to attach it, and then ultimately send that email. And then when you add volume, this is where it gets even more complicated, and then it gets to be more delayed. There's also inconsistent communication that can delay this. There's inconsistent messaging or tone. One customer might get a reminder, or they might get a reminder that month, and they might not get one, on a different invoice. I think most importantly, if every one of your invoices is being processed manually, those really high value customers, we like to call them white glove customers, maybe the ones that have a lot of business with, or the ones that you have a lot of business with, or the ones that make the big orders, those ones actually do want to have a human touch oftentimes. And with the attention of all the lower, the volume itself, they don't often get that attention. Because your agents are distracted and they're not able to focus on those high value accounts. So then that kind of goes into what a manual collections and some of those challenges with that manual collections that we typically see prior to, that our customers reach out to prior to implementation. I always like to say this, but marketers have HubSpot, sales has automation tools like Outreach or Sales Handy. Customer success, they have Intercom or Zendesk. But one of the most vital parts of the business really has little to no automation. And without that automation, businesses will face a lot of these manual challenges that you see here. And what you're looking at is a snapshot of what a manual collections process could potentially look like. What this is an aging spreadsheet that the collector might manually export, weekly or daily, and then review it with their team, and then have to manually update it, and then prioritize what their actions are going to be for that day. And then by the end of the week, oftentimes this is outdated. Then the next week starts, they have to extract that new aging spreadsheet. And without the automation piece, these are those activities that are going to have to be completed manually. So when you really kind of take a step back and look at it, the collections process is really a manual process that's built on Outlook and Excel as their tech stack. All right, so now that I've kind of gone over what a lot of the challenges are with that manual process, let me just touch on what accounts receivable automation software actually is. Really what it is it's cloud-based software. It integrates with those Sage ERP platforms that I mentioned earlier. And what it does is it replaces those manual tasks involved with invoicing customers and collecting payments. And that can really save a company both time and money. You can see some of our stats listed out down there from our own customer database. But the 5 features that we typically like to highlight in our demos or our personalized demos are these ones listed out right here. I was going to be showing this in that video, but like I said, we're having a little bit of issues. So I'll just go ahead and touch on at a high level what each of these does within the system. That way you have a good understanding. So the first one really is those automated customer communications. So this is what I meant by reducing those manual tasks. What this does is it replaces, those reminders or those statements and those past due notices. What you're doing with those aging spreadsheets is, tracking it in that way, but then your collectors or your agents are manually sending those emails out and then manually telling themselves to make that reminder. So what the automated communications can do, they can replace that for you based on your business's customizable needs. And what they should be as well, they should carry your tone. They should sound like you're coming from your company. That way your customers are more comfortable with them. They should be tailored for your customer types or segments. We know that a lot of our customers like to segment their different customer groups. Like I mentioned earlier, those white glove customers, that might be an area where you don't want your customers to have as much automation, that group potentially. Whereas maybe some of the, the larger bulk of invoices, those can benefit from automation. They should also be really specific to your credit policy. So that's something we like to point out. And there should be a different message at 30, 60, and 90 days. The next one is customer self-service. When we spoke to our AR community, was that the fact that paper checks, they really increase past due and average days delinquent, and there is a big move away from paper checks. So if you're already on that path, great. But when we examined it, we found that adding a customer payment portal really reduced a lot of that average days delinquent. And so what you saw in that first slide was those automated communications. Well, within those, you can include a link that would then your customers can click to pay and take them to a portal where they can access all of their invoices. They can, make payments on multiple invoices, add collections notes or dispute payments. There's a multitude of things that they have the ability to do within there, allowing them to self-serve, also allowing your agents some of that time back. How many times do you get asked to resend an invoice or someone never got it? Well, this is allowing you to take as many barriers out of the way for those customers to pay, which has a significant impact on your DSO and ADD. The other one was our activity management portion of the platform. And this is really just for the team. It allows them to eliminate that aging spreadsheet almost, actually fully. And then what they do is execute on their activities within the platform. And the solution, because it's a rule-based engine, it will automatically create a prioritized list for each collector based on those rules that you're setting up. So no longer having to decide what the next best activity is, the system will just automatically generate that based on those rules. And then as you can see here, the benefits were that, obviously you can see into other team members' activities. It's no longer siloed into one person's Outlook. or email, whatever that provider is. It allows you to do activity reporting to see the impact of your collection success, as well as, like I said, eliminating that aging and spreading track sheet. So the data is real time. You're not having to manually push that data into a different spreadsheet. And then the very last one was just our reporting and forecasting capabilities. Being able to predict, what your cash flow forecast looks like, or having some predicted payment behavior within there. The solution can support that, so that your stakeholders and that your businesses in general can make smarter decisions based on, what your status of your cash flow currently is. All right, and the last thing I wanted to just do was highlight one of our customer successes. Specifically, this was a customer that was on Intacct. They've been a long-standing Sage customer, and they really struggled, like many organizations, with a manual process. They relied heavily on Outlook and Excel, and their team would have to regularly meet with their internal stakeholders and then manually update Sage based on the feedback that they were receiving. And then they would follow up with those activities, in Outlook, or, manual calling based on those discussions. But their biggest challenges, were the manual process, very time consuming, and then as well as activity management. So having that piece in there to see what was working within their workflow, what maybe they needed to look at more specifically to change to see what was being effective. And then all of this really resulted in a lack of visibility for them at a company and account level. But you can see here, they had a lot of wins within their first year. They saw a 20-day reduction in their DSO, outstanding, while being able to scale. This was a big win for them. They were able to scale without incremental headcount, which we see a lot within our customer base. Their customers are able to focus their work, or their agents are able to focus their collections efforts, not so task saturated necessarily because of that automation. And that was what I had for you guys today. I just want to say thank you again for your time. Feel free to scan this code if you want to go get started. You can reach out to my contact as well. I want to thank you again for your time. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out.
Thank you, Whitney. And I feel like, yes, as we go into 2024, we should all think about automating as many things as we can possible, especially all those tasks that you mentioned, because that would definitely save a business a lot of time and money. All right. I did put the link to the demo video that Whitney was talking about in the chat. So if you want to get that link, you certainly can. I will also, again, include it in the webinar recording email that I send out. All right. With that, now we will take it over to REPAY with Nicole and Dylan.
Thank you, Amy. I'm going to go ahead and steal the screen real quick. Let me know when you guys are able to see it, and hopefully I can minimize this. Perfect. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and kick this off with a little bit of an introduction, give you some information about REPAY. My name is Nicole Benitez. I am an account executive here at REPAY. I've been in this industry for a couple of years, maybe a little bit over 7 years. I'd like to say I started when I was 3, but don't start doing math because it's not going to make sense. But I have Dylan over here. He is the VP of Sales and Business Development. We're going to go a little bit into our Sage Intacct demo today, but we also are integrated into Sage 100 and 300. And then, of course, after this, I'll go ahead and provide a recording of our demo. I'll paste the link on there as well, but I'll stop talking because I can talk forever, and I'll pass it off to Dylan so he can go ahead and chat a little bit about REPAY.
Thanks, Nicole. Nice to meet everybody on the call today. I can't believe there's thousands of people on just to listen to me, but really nice to meet everybody. Thank you so much for your time. As Nicole mentioned, I'm Dylan. I'm relatively new here to the REPAY team, but certainly not new to payments or enterprise technology. I've been in the game for about 10 years now, and thought we'd just give a quick, run through of some of the things that we see changing as sort of a core focus in the business payment space. I think as COVID really forced an evolution of the way that we pay as consumers, from everything to online payments and shopping online to tap to pay at the gas station and the grocery store. A lot of that sort of innovation and evolution, we're seeing that, businesses want that same level of convenience, right? Gone are the days of check writing, or I shouldn't say gone, but definitely, seeing a transformation in terms of the way that businesses pay one another, going away from, hey, let's, we're going to write and mail checks, to now, hey, let's use ACH and even card payments to process larger transactions as well. So a few things that are really important just in terms of payments processing generally, right? Three things that we talk a lot about are, it should be safe, it should be secure, and it should be simple. And our goal at REPAY is to optimize payments, to make money move from A to B in a seamless fashion, so that so that Sage and Sage's customers can then focus on their business, whether it's selling T-shirts or running a hospital or what could it be. This piece is not the piece that you want friction in the process. And so a few different things that we offer to ensure that moving money is smooth as a hot knife through butter. First of all, the REPAY vault, right? So being PCI compliant in terms of how you hold consumer card data is really important. We've all seen, the Target data breach and things like that, where not to call it a Target, it does happen to everybody, right? And so you don't want to be in a position where your customer's card data is at risk. And so for REPAY, we own that burden. In terms of interchange and the fees that the credit cards charge, it can be, 2.7, 3.2% of your processing or of your volume. And that can get really expensive over time. So, passing additional data in the transaction through level 2 or level 3 functionalities is another really interesting way, that you can provide some interchange cost savings there. And then again, capitalizing on the digital transformation of allowing end users to complete payments with cards and with ACH in a manner that's cost effective, but also eliminates a lot of the operational burden that comes with the dated invoice and check system. And then last, and I think what we see as the most important piece here at REPAY is live customer support. The one thing, at its core, right, all these different payment service providers, we're doing something very similar in that we're moving funds from one bank account into another. And so, we see customer support as critical, because just like, when you're going through Macy's or Nike to make a purchase, when you have a question, you want the question answered in real time. And so we've got 24/7 customer support and also dedicated resources, not just to ERP partners like Sage, but to their customers downstream as well. So instead of an alias, you have a human being that you can actually talk to, and talk proactively about different payments, obstacles, and challenges that you may have before you bump into them. And then, the last thing that I'll say, and I'll kick it back to Nicole to dive in a little bit more to the tech in terms of the demo. But we have a lot of integrations. We're a premier partner with, we're a premier tier 1 partner with Sage. And so we have the full breadth of our product offering available within the Sage ecosystem. And we also have a massive partner network with Adobe, BigCommerce, WooCommerce, a lot of the sort of consumer-facing, online platforms that you would see as well. And so that's another big benefit with REPAY, both within the Sage community and then as a standalone, is we're here, we can automate, payments going out. So all of your financial operations around making payments, and in the payables department, we can automate and own that piece. Receivables, so taking really large checks, even large card payments from other businesses, we can enable that as well. And then we also have consumer receivables, and so we can take cards. If you're sending $5 invoices or have people on a $5 subscription plan or selling T-shirts or something like that, we can take card payments online as well. And so having the full breadth of this offering, we can offer a really strong product in each of these areas. And we can also, given the context of the macro environment right now, we can also offer significant cost savings by being able to provide all three of those services. And again, I'm Dylan here with Sage. If anybody has any questions after this, I am readily available. And if it's okay with Amy, I'll definitely share my contact information. But that'll be it for me, and I will pass it on to Nicole.
Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and jump into Sage Intacct. Again, I do want to emphasize we are in Sage 100 and 300 as well. I just decided to show Intacct today. So there's two portions to this. I want to show you where REPAY lives inside of the customer profile. And then I also want to show you how it would look when you're ready to take an order. So I'm going to jump into AB Square and scroll all the way down. It's pretty hard to miss REPAY because we pop up right there. Now just bear with me because my internet's slow. I'm not usually in Chicago, so I'm not in the office, but I'm glad that this popped up. As you can see, we have credit cards that are already on file, but you do have the option to add a credit card or an ACH account. So when we're ready to do that, all we're going to do is hit that add credit card button, and all we have to do is fill in that missing information. So I'm going to go ahead and do that and count all my ones. I'll update that expiration code. This is pretty easy. And then I'll enter in the CVV code. Now, a lot of people get confused about this. The CVV code is completely optional, but we do recommend that you keep it on just in case there's any chargebacks. So once I see everything's ready to go through, I'm going to go ahead and hit submit, and it's just going to save and tokenize that credit card information for us. And what's happening is instead of saving this on your instance, on your Sage Intacct instance, we save it on our REPAY gateway. So again, like Dylan was discussing before, it keeps you guys PCI compliant, and it puts the risk on us to keep this information tokenized and vaulted. That way, in case anybody tries to breach you, like that case with Target, they won't be able to get any card information. So as you can see, it successfully saved the credit card information. Now, what I'm going to do is create a quick invoice or order entry and show you where we pop up on there as well. So I'll go ahead and add a new one. Enter in all the necessary information. Currency is going to be US dollars. We'll add an item real quick. Let's do a laptop. Quantity 1, warehouse is fine. And then reference, I'm just going to put demo days. Now, once I see everything's ready and good to go, I'm just going to post the invoice. And then when I'm ready to make that payment, I'll go ahead and hit view, and we're going to pop up again, just like in that customer profile. We'll scroll down, and here is REPAY. It'll give us the option to pay with a credit card on the fly, ACH on the fly, or we can authorize on here as well, all the generic stuff. Or what I'll be doing today is using a vaulted payment method. So once I am ready to accept that payment and a customer is called and they want to pay the invoice right now, I'll just go into the vaulted payment method, which is the ones that I created inside of the customer profile, and I'll select one that's not expired because I always select one that's expired. We do give you the option to accept this payment partially or in full. Just for this demo purpose, I'm going to go ahead and submit it in full. And what's going to happen is it's going to accept the payment, and I will get an authorization and transaction ID number confirming that the payment has gone through once I hit submit. Again, CVV code completely optional, but we do recommend that you keep it on. So it prompted me to put it on just because I have it turned on for my demo instance. We'll give it a second to load. And perfect. Here is the authorization code and transaction ID number. And that's just telling us that the transaction has gone through. If there was a case where we would need to refund, it's as easy as pressing this button. Now, what I'm going to go ahead and do is switch this back over to Dylan. And again, I'll make sure to copy and paste a link into the chat box. But while I do that, I'll go ahead and let Dylan talk a little bit about our vendor payment automation solution. Did I lose him? Did I lose everyone?
I'm here.
Okay. I'm not sure if he might have jumped off or maybe he has his audio muted.
He's still showing up, but he's not, but I think he's muted and he's not sharing his video, so I don't know.
Okay, I guess I'll go ahead and take the spotlight from here. So what we have is a automated vendor payment automation solution as well. And it's as simple as uploading a file into our vendor payment portal. And what we do from there is once we get the approval from your side, we'll go ahead and make those payments for you. So let's say it's company ABC. We call on behalf, I'm going to use you, I'm going to say on behalf of ISV, we are trying to make this payment for this invoice, and we give them the option to accept the payment through a virtual card, an ACH, or a check. And then we like to capitalize on the use of a virtual card. And the reason we do this is because we offer a rebate back to our customer when we make those payments. So it's a really simple process. You upload the file and we take everything downstream from there. We make the payments for you. We chase checks for you. If somebody wants an ACH payment, we make sure to collect their ACH information and make those payments as well. But if you would like more information on this, feel free to reach out to Dylan or I. We would be more than happy to provide a demo of how that works in the REPAY AP portal. But again, as simple as uploading a file from our Sage Intacct. Sage 100, we have a direct integration for vendor payment automation. I'm not sure how many people on here are using Sage 100. And then for Sage 300, we'd be able to do another file upload as well. Now, I'm going to go ahead and just leave this QR code right here. If you're interested in learning more, feel free to scan that and schedule a discovery call for us. We'll probably offer a little lunch on us to bribe you a little, but again, thank you, Amy, for allowing us to present today. And thanks, everybody, for taking the time to jump on today to see our presentation. I'll go
Yes.
ahead and stop sharing my screen.
Thank you, Nicole and Dylan. I appreciate it. So yes, we'll include that QR code in the webinar recording email as well. So you'll have that. And now we have Yooz coming up. Terry, are you ready?
Absolutely. Can you all hear me okay?
Sound good.
Okay, wonderful. So I am going to share my screen and let's see here. Okay, you all should see, I say a picture of me on a good day, right? Is that right?
Not yet. Here we go. I
Not
see your
yet. Okay.
slides. Perfect.
Okay, perfect. So, just so everyone knows, I'm actually part of the dedicated Sage pod here at Yooz, North America. And if anyone wants to take a screen grab of this right now, absolutely. I do know it's going to be sent out as well this week. But I just want to share a little bit with you about Yooz and who we are, just to give you a better understanding of our experience and our technology. So, we were actually born in the cloud in 2010, and we have over 35 years of process automation and smart data extraction. So that's a big deal. There is a big difference between that OCR and smart data extraction. If you have any questions, I'd love to hear those. But essentially, Yooz has been around for over 35 years, and we leveraged that experience to bring AP automation to the cloud in 2010. So globally, we have over 5,000 clients. We have over 500 employees. We have offices in the US, UK, France, and Spain, and we're processing millions of documents every year. I do always love to point this out. We actually reinvest 2 times the cloud company norm back into research and development at 25%, because we believe our clients deserve the best that technology has to offer. So here on this slide, you kind of get an idea of some of our partners, some of the accounting firms that we work with. We are being utilized and recommended. This slide encompasses what I like to say is AP automation at the most extreme level, right? So the ability to automate your process and create that no-touch workflow from start to finish. Yooz does even have the ability to create and send purchase orders outside of the app. So if that's something that you're interested in seeing, we can certainly make those arrangements. And now we're going to go ahead and jump into a live demonstration of Yooz. So you all should see my to-do list right now. Can someone confirm that you're seeing the to-do list?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So here logged in, this is our main user interface. We keep everything super simple on the front end. A lot of complexities happen behind the scenes, but we want it to be a really easy user experience. So here we can see the screen that most folks spend a majority of their time. Like I said, our to-do list here. So you can see that we've got this organized or categorized in a few different buckets by org unit and document type. So we've got non-PO and PO-based invoices. And we have an invoice here waiting to match against a purchase order. So cool thing about that is we can actually import that data from your ERP, bring it directly into Yooz and perform that automated matching for you. So we're just going to go ahead and run through a few invoices, show you really high level what it looks like with inside of Yooz. And clicking in here, you actually see that you get the full invoice image on the right. You have the header field information on the left, and then you've got some areas highlighted here on the invoice. So really quick and easy review process to tab through that header field information. Yooz is going to bring you to the data set it grabbed that from on the invoice. And then you also see we've got a perfect match to this purchase order. So making it easy to create no-touch workflows around this. Yooz also has some additional functionality here. So we could add a comment to this document, and this will live with the document eternally. I'm just going to use our lasso tool here, so I don't even have to type anymore. And everything on this document looks good. I'm going to go ahead and submit this one. And I'm going to show you what a non-PO based invoice looks like as well. This is following its customized workflow. Okay. So the great thing about Yooz's workflows is that they're fully customizable. I would say probably the most customizable on the market. And you have the ability to have up to 9 levels of approval in each phase and unlimited routing options. I mean, a lot of flexibility there. So here, we're in our next invoice. We can see the lines are automatically coded, and that is thanks to our GL machine learning. So that means that Yooz is going to ask you if you'd like to memorize those coding habits for each vendor the first time an invoice is received from the vendor. Okay, so really cool technology there. Yooz can also be utilized as a calculator. So if I wanted to split this evenly amongst all 3 lines, I can just enter my function here and then arrow down, and you'll see that now we have that balance GL entry. So really easy to process a lot of invoices in just a few minutes here. And this is also going to follow that workflow going over to Mr. Jones. So I've mentioned workflow a couple of times. I would like to go ahead and touch on that a little bit. So we're going to jump into our settings here icon. Now, processes and workflows can only be updated or maintained by admins. So keep that in mind. This wouldn't be available to just any user in the application. So here you see we have a few examples of that workflow. And this one's pretty simple, so not as complex as it could be. But again, you get 9 steps in each of these phases and unlimited routing options deep. So here we're saying if an invoice is from one of these specific vendors, if it's less than $550, it's going to skip that review step entirely. Okay. We've also got some examples of keyword routing. We've got an example here of a multiple approver layer. So approver step number 1 over 4,000 and approver step number 2 over 4,000. And then we've got additional no-touch rules. So after review, it could auto-approve if that's something that fits your organization. So a lot of flexibility here, routing documents, as hands-free as you can make it. And just a lot of really good information there. So the last thing that I'd like to show you is our search functionality. This is a really amazing tool. So you can build custom reports with Yooz, and you can actually save those reports. So as an example, let's just say I know I order a drum from someone. I don't know who I've gotten that drum from in the past, and I just typed in the word drum. Yooz is going to bring me to every invoice that does contain the word drum. And what's powerful about this is that it found it in the body of the invoice. So it's not in any of the header field information. It's not in the line items. It's actually in the body of the invoice here. So you can save these reports just by starring it. You can share this report with other people who need to be in the know. You could get an email notification anytime something new hits this report. And something that I also love is you can export these reports. So we've got a plugin that allows you to create all kinds of really cool charts and graphs relating to the data that you extract from Yooz based on your invoice processing. I'm going to go back here to the main search page, and that pretty much wraps up my demonstration of Yooz, probably the highest level overview anyone has ever seen. And I'll hand this back over to Miss Amy.
Well, this is great. Thank you, Terry. So yes, so if you do have any questions, feel free again to put them in the chat or the Q&A. We have a few minutes now to answer those questions. If you don't have any questions, we're giving you back a few minutes of your day. And as I mentioned, we will be sending out the recording with all of this information. So you can reach out to them to ask questions if you've come up with any, and also see a more in-depth demo of the solution and how it can help you in your Sage environment. And I don't see any questions, a very quiet group. We answered all their questions. That's what I'm going to say. We were so thorough.
I'll agree with you.
Hey, we got to clap.
Yay.
Awesome. All right. Well, everyone, thank you again so much for joining us for Sage Demo Day. Stay tuned for the recording email with everybody's contact information and more information. And again, feel free to reach out to us if you do need any additional information. You can feel free to reach out to me as well. I'm Amy Keenan, your host of the Demo Day from the ISV Society. You'll have my contact information in that email as well. And obviously, this is our last demo day of the year, so happy holidays, happy new year. Stay tuned for more webinars from the ISV Society on all of the different ERP ISV solutions for Sage. So thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Have a great day.